I got something. I don't even really know what exactly made me make this video right now, but it's just something that I'm sitting here and I'm working on some stuff, and it's something that I figured out ever since I was probably around the age of 13 years old. And what this is guitar gods. Uh, I would look up at my favorite guitar players and see them shredding, and it was like they had otherworldly powers. And I know people that don't play guitar, they do the same thing because I hear that term thrown around. Oh, they're a guitar god. They're a guitar god. I used to think the same thing, and I figured out different at a very young age. I started getting serious with guitar at about 8 years old. I started when I was 4. At 8 years old, I started getting really serious about it, and I buckled down and I started music lessons and all that. And everybody told me, like, you got a natural talent at this. And then I would hear recordings of myself and be like, dude, I suck. I'm horrible. What are they talking about? And they're like, no, 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 no. You need to keep with this. You got natural talent, natural talent. So I stuck with it. It was frustrating. And then 8, 9, 10, 11, about 11 years old, people were like, oh, you're magnificent. And I was like, am I? No, really? And so I'd like record stuff with my little karaoke machine that I had. And I started comparing it to the stuff that I was doing when I was 8. Now I'm 11. And I started listening to it, and I'm like, holy hell, I am good at this. You know? Finally, I'm the short, crippled kid. Like, I was the last to get picked for baseball, last to get picked for every sport that I ever did. Every PE class, I was the last. I was never good at anything. And then finally, at like 11 years old, I'm finally the best at something. And it was magnificent. Like, I can't even explain that feeling when you're like a little short, crippled kid and you're never good at anything, and now you're the best at something. And that made me buckle down even harder. And I had been learning the typical music school stuff. I'd been learning, theory and chords and, shape notes and, the typical stuff they teach you in any music lesson. The theory behind it, how to read music, how to read tablature, what time signatures mean, all that. And when people started telling me that I was good at this, it inspired me to like really practice. So I would practice my guitar lesson stuff and do all the theory, and I would practice that for 30 minutes. And then for the next 3 or 4 hours, I would just practice the stuff that I liked doing. And that's it. And that's what I put my effort towards, is playing rock and roll and the blues and heavy metal and what I like to do. The music theory, it got very little attention. It got the minimal attention just to get by. And then what I wanted to play got 98% of my attention. So it comes around, I'm 11 years old, and I'm giving all my attention to this. And I get to about 13 years old, and I get a little bit older, and I get into some, different stuff. I start like listening to punk rock and hardcore and shit like that. And I got away from the glam rock thing because, like Nirvana blew that out of the frame. And I didn't like Nirvana or that grunge shit or anything. I thought the music was good, but sonically, like their musician's ability, I thought it was shit. So I got into different stuff and underground stuff and everything, and then get older, and I'm a teenager now, and then I start to see my heroes. We were in the tape trading thing. VHS tapes and tape trading. You could take and put like $2 or $3 in an envelope and write these people, and then hopefully 6-7 weeks later, you would get back an envelope and it'd have a blank cassette in it with the stuff right on it. You would hear all kinds of new stuff that was really popular in the 80s and 90s. So I would hear new stuff, and I would see like my heroes, the guys that I was like, oh, they're guitar gods. And I would see them just eat shit. I would see performance of them when they were on point and just electric. And I started seeing, videos and tapes of them where they just totally ate a big old bag of shit. And I really gave that a lot of thought. And then I made the relation, about 13, 14 years old, I made the relation, first, that's when all my friends started picking up guitar and joining the middle school band. And they would, I got sheet music here. Can you play this? And I'd like, yeah, I can play that. I know. And I would go, I would say that. And I was like, holy shit, I suck at this now. But I can shred, I can play the blues, I can play metal, I can shred my ass off. And then I relate that back to, I've seen some of my heroes eat a big bag of shit, because they'd had too much to drink or whatever. And I knew all this music, reading music theory shit. I knew that 2-3 years ago. And now I suck at it. And I'm really good at all this shit that I've been practicing. And I realized right then, there's no such thing as a guitar god. There's not. You're going to be good at what you practice. All those guys that you can hear just absolutely melt your face off, it don't matter how much natural talent they had. Those guys had to practice their asses off to get that good. And you're going to be good at what you practice. So there is no guitar gods. There's no magic formula. There's none of that. You're gonna get good at what you practice. And all those guys that you look up to that you think they've got otherworldly abilities, they don't. They practice their ass off to get there. And if you're a guitar god, you wouldn't have to practice that hard to get where you're at. And I don't know what inspired me to make this, but that's that, all right? There's no guitar gods. You practice what you get good at.